Hey guys, welcome to the last lesson in the Joseph series of lessons for 2020 online VBS. I am excited to be here today. I am excited to finish up the story. I love the story of Joseph. And as we finish it up today, we're going to sing songs before we do anything else. We're going to sing the Bible, then we're going to sing Romans 8:28. Let's sing. All right, guys, so great singing. We will probably do both songs in our next session as well. But here's what I want to talk about today. We're going to finish up the week with the thought, God's plan is for you. God's plan is for you. It's about you. He has plans that are great for you. But here's the thing. We've seen that plans that God says are great aren't always what we say are great. You know, our verse this week is Romans 8:28. For we know that all things are together for good for those who love him, who are called according to his purpose, right? Today our thought is his purpose. You know, I have a purpose when I do things. If I go out and I get some steak and I put it on the grill, the purpose of me doing that is to eat the steak. You know, as I think about that, here's the problem. If that steak doesn't cook the right way, then I have an issue. There's some people who like their steaks not cooked all the way. I'm not one of them. I like it well done or medium well at least, right? So I'm not one of those people who likes it if it's not completely done all the way. And you know, that happened to me once. I went out, I put them on the grill, and I came back inside for a little bit thinking I'm going to go out, flip them, and it'll be just a few minutes till the steaks are done. But I got back out there, and I found out the grill was out of propane. You see, my plan was I'm going to have a delicious supper. It had enough propane to light, to heat up, and even cook for about 20 seconds, it looked like. But other than that, nothing had happened. My plan didn't work out. But you see, God has a purpose behind his plans. His purpose is to grow us to become more like him. His purpose, if we're a believer, is to grow us to become more like Christ, to help us develop into what we're supposed to be. His plan, if we're a non-believer, is for us to hear about Christ and know what Christ did for us. And then his plan out of all of it is for us to bring honor and glory to him. So we are called according to his purpose. He has a purpose. You know, his plan doesn't mean I'm going to make $1 million. It'd be awesome if I did, but that's not what it means. His plan means things are going to work together for the good so I can do what he's called me to. So that's what our thought this week has been. God causes all things to work together for the good for those who love him, who are called according to his purpose. It doesn't mean we're going to have a perfect life. It means that God's plan is going to work perfectly so that we can do what he's called us to. And as we've seen that this week with Joseph, his life hasn't looked too perfect, has it? Let's go back through it. Not liked by his brothers, thrown in a pit, sold by his brothers, rose to power as a slave, working for Potiphar, then lied about, ends up in prison, rises to power in prison, but after all, he's in prison. Then he interprets dreams for the cupbearer and the baker in prison. The cupbearer, he tells him, hey, when you get out of here, remember me. But we know from yesterday's lesson, the cupbearer forgot about him for 2 days. Then finally, Pharaoh has some dreams, and Joseph gets called in front of Pharaoh, and he interprets Pharaoh's dream. And we saw that he got put in charge yesterday of storing up the crops for the land, storing up the crops during the good years so that when the famine came, Egypt could be prepared. You know, that's where we pick our story up today. And our thought today is about forgiveness. We see that Joseph forgives his brothers in today's story. And our story later today in the Jesus story is going to be about forgiveness. That's what we're looking at today. And I'm going to ask you a quick question before we begin. How many of you guys know what forgiveness means? You know, the word that's used for it in the Bible means to forgive a debt or to release a debt. It means something's been forgiven or something doesn't have to be paid anymore. You know, we are taught that we need to forgive others when they harm us. We forgive others when they hurt us. But this thought is we release it and we let go of it. We don't keep thinking about it. And we're going to see how Joseph did that today. Our story starts out in Genesis chapter 42. It runs through basically the rest of the chapter. If you want to see the rest of Genesis, you want to see what the book says. But it says this. When Jacob saw that there was grain in Egypt, Jacob said to his sons, why do you look at one another? And he said, indeed, I have heard that there's grain in Egypt. Go down to that place and buy for us some grain, that we may live and not die." So Joseph's 10 brothers went down to buy grain in Egypt. But Jacob did not send Joseph's brother Benjamin with his brothers, for he said, "Lest some calamity befall him." You see, Jacob, if we remember right, that's Joseph's dad. He thinks Joseph's dead, and him and his brothers, him and Joseph's brothers, his sons, are still living their lives. And what happened? The famine came. And they were running out of food, and he heard there was food in Egypt. He said, Go get us some food. Don't let us die. Go get us some food. So they go, and they pick up some food. They go to pick up food. But it says in there that he didn't send Benjamin, the youngest brother. Joseph was the second youngest, and there was Benjamin, the younger brother. He only sent the older two because he was worried something would happen to Benjamin. So they go, and they get to Egypt, and they have to go, and they have to stand before Joseph. Isn't it crazy? They have to go, and they have to stand before Joseph. They are there, and they go before him. We just need some food. We need this, and they didn't realize who he was. And here's what happens. Now Joseph was governor over the land, and it was he who sold all to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brothers came and bowed down before him with their faces to the earth. Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them, but he acted as a stranger to them and spoke roughly to them and said, "Where do you come from?" And they said, "From the land of Canaan to buy food." So Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. And Joseph remembered the dreams he had dreamed about and said to them, "You're spies. You have come to see the nakedness of the land." They said to him, "No, my lord, we're your servants. We've come to buy food. We are all one man's sons. We're honest men. Your servants are not spies." But he said to them, "No, but you have come to see the nakedness of the land." And they said, "Your servants are 12 brothers, the son of the man in the land Canaan. In fact, the youngest is with her father, and one is no more." But Joseph said to them, "It is as I spoke. You are spies. In this manner you shall be tested. By the life of Pharaoh you shall not leave this place unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of you, and let him bring your brother, and you shall be kept in prison, that your words may be tested to see whether any of it is true. Or else the life of Pharaoh. Surely you are spies." So he put them all together in prison for 3 days. Then Joseph said to them on the third day, "Do this and live, for I fear God. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers be confined to prison house, but you go and carry grain to the famine of your houses, and bring your youngest brother back, that your words may be verified." So Joseph, he recognizes them. They don't recognize him. He says, "You're spies." You're spies. He also remembered the dream he had. You remember the dream that started this week? Of their crops bowing down to his? Yeah. So he remembered that, and he tested them. So they went and they stayed in prison for 3 days. He said, "All right, one of you stays. The other one goes back and gets Benjamin. I will give you the food. You'll go, and things will be good." So they head out. And as they get ready to leave, Joseph commanded them to fill their sacks with grain and restore every man's money to his sack and give provisions to the journey for they had. So they loaded their donkeys and they left. But one of them opened his sack and gave his donkey feed at the encampment. He saw his money in there and in the mouth of his sack. So he said to my brothers, "My money's been restored and it's in my sack." As they saw this, they got nervous. They were afraid they were going to get in trouble for this. So they go, they continue on. They end up bringing Benjamin back. So they come before Joseph again, and this time Joseph is pretty upset seeing Benjamin. He talks to his brothers again. You'd think this is going to be a great time for him to tell them, "You know what? Guess what? It's me." But he waits again. You know what he does? He tests them again. He put his cup in Benjamin's pack. And as they're leaving, they find the cup in Benjamin's pack. And as they do this, of course, it means that Benjamin's going to have to be murdered for stealing, right? But Reuben stood up and said, "No, take me instead. Don't make it be him. Make it be me." I'm sorry, Judah interfered. I'm sorry that I said Reuben. It was Judah. They came near, and Judah said, "O my Lord, please let your servant speak word in my Lord's hearing, and do not leave your anger burn against your servant, for you are even like Pharaoh. My Lord asked his servant, saying, 'Have you a brother?' And we said to my Lord, we have a brother of this old man. So they come and he offers to take it away. Then finally, after this and after seeing Judah being willing to die for Benjamin, Joseph reveals himself to his brothers. He lets them know that it's him. And as he does this, one thing he says to them is, hey, you guys meant this for harm, but God meant it for good. You see, Joseph is in a powerful position now. He's in a position where he could have had his brothers killed for everything they had done to him. But he didn't. Instead, he tested them to see where they were at, where their hearts were at. It turns out they were sorry for what they had done to him. In fact, they loved Benjamin so much that Judah was willing to die for him. And Joseph, after seeing this, it says he just couldn't hold it anymore. He reveals himself to him, and he forgives his brothers. You see, Joseph had a lot of bad things happen to him, but he knew it was all part of God's plan. Because God put him in that position where he could save his brothers in the future, where he could save the land in the future. It was all part of God's plan. You meant it for harm, but God meant it for good. So we see Joseph being forgiven today. We see that God's plan is about you. And here's the thing. It's not going to be perfect. Today, as I'm trying to say names to you, I got Reuben and Judah mixed up. It's going to happen. I missed out some of the details I probably should have left in the story. It's going to happen. God doesn't need us to be perfect for his plan. He needs us to follow him and to trust him. So I want to encourage you. This week we saw the life of Joseph. We saw his life wasn't perfect, but that God had a perfect plan for it. Are you trusting God's perfect plan?